Right now, President Trump's controversial pick for Surgeon General is sparring with senators over whether she's qualified to become the nation's top doctor. Casey Means does not have an active medical license and never completed her medical residency. Instead, she is a popular wellness influencer and former campaign advisor to RFK Jr. The title of one chapter in her book is Trust Yourself, Not Your Doctor. And from the start of this hearing, autism has been an inflection point.
Do you believe that vaccines, whether individually or collectively, contribute to autism?
Senator Cassidy, you're a physician, I'm a physician. The reality is that we have an autism crisis that's increasing, and this is devastating to many families, and we do not know as a medical community what causes autism. We have a situation where autism is rising.
It is.
This is a huge problem.
It is, but we don't want conspiracy theories to
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And also, as a biomedical researcher and physician, I am not going to sit here and say that we should not study something in the future. It's not a political answer.
We should.
MS Now's Will McDuffie is on Capitol Hill for us. Also here, Dr. Vin Gupta, pulmonologist, global health policy expert, and an MS Now medical contributor. I want to start there if I can, Vin, which is the idea that, yes, there's medical evidence showing no connection at all, absolutely none, between vaccines and autism, and yet it needs further study. What did you make of that?
I've been following along her testimony, and she keeps leaning into the fact that from her physician background, she keeps referencing the medical community. The medical community is pretty clear that there is no link between vaccines, childhood vaccine schedule, and the onset of autism. We know it's related to maternal and paternal age. We know it's related to air pollution exposure. There's other plausible explanations. She didn't talk about that, and yet she continues to cite what the medical community thinks, what her background as a physician demands her to be scrutinous of, which is the evidence. And the evidence clearly is not controversial here, Chris. It's very clear. There's no link. But it's interesting that she continues to lean on her MD background when, as you pointed out in the tee-up, she's not a practicing MD.
She did say, as a physician, more times than I counted. All right, well, give us the bigger picture beyond autism. Take us inside the hearing. What have you been seeing and noting?
Chris, a lot of questions around vaccines, even from Republican senators. I mean, Senator Cassidy and Senator Murkowski both asked her about her stances on vaccines. Obviously, that's been a huge issue, Chris, with this administration and Secretary RFK Jr. She said repeatedly that she thinks vaccines are an important part of public health, but she declined when pressed a couple different times on whether she would recommend that all parents vaccinate their children for measles. And look, the Surgeon General is not, they don't make vaccine policy. They're not really involved in that, but they are the chief messenger for the Health and Human Services Department, and they are supposed to put out clear public health guidance, the latest data for Americans to digest and then make their own decisions based off of that. So that was a key issue that they focused on in the hearing room this morning. Another thing, and you guys got at this just a moment ago, her qualifications. What's her experience? What sort of medical licensing and medical practice does she have? She had an interesting exchange about that with Senator Andy Kim. Let's take a listen.
I do have a medical license right now. It is voluntarily placed on inactive status because I'm not actively seeing patients at this time. The HHS and Admiral Brian Christine have testified in front of this committee that I am eligible to serve as the medical director of the HHS.
But how does that square with saying here it says keeping a professional licensure and certification up to date is mandatory? Is yours up to date?
I have an I have a medical license that is unexpired right now.
So just to clarify a couple of things, her medical license is current. It's not active. She inactivated her license, which was in the state of Oregon, which basically means she can't practice medicine in Oregon. And another thing that you mentioned, Chris, in your opening is that she got a medical degree from Stanford, but she quit her residency program shortly before it was supposed to end. And that's actually been a positive for her when it comes to folks in the MAHA movement, that she's pushing back against the medical establishment. She's not following the traditional path of medicine and prescriptions and treatments. And so that's been a big focus of her in this hearing today. Chris.
Thank you for that. So, Vin, there was another set of tough questions, and they had to do with birth control. Take a listen.
I believe that especially when it comes to oral contraceptives, we need to have patients having a conversation with their doctor about risks and benefits. Like all medications, oral contraceptives do have significant risk, and we need to make sure that women are empowered with information and informed consent before getting on a medication that's often prescribed for several years without follow-up.
So I don't think anybody would disagree with the idea that patients should talk to their doctors before going on any medication, but are there significant risks over the many decades of women taking oral contraceptives?
No, they're not. And this is the problem with her nomination. You know, she started with a promising career in her medical school career, and then deviated and is now making these comments here, which are gross overstatements of reality. There's decades of safety data on oral contraceptives, and I agree with her. This should be an informed conversation between patient and doctor, or patient and medical provider, on appropriateness, if there's side effects, to discuss it. But to claim that there is somehow side effects that we haven't studied or that we don't know certain things is a gross overstatement. And I think reflects the fact that she does not have, Chris, the backing of the medical community. Nobody in the medical community at scale, you know, aside from fringe elements, believes in her nomination, because they don't believe that she will be an ally. The Surgeon General, we think about iconic Surgeon Generals like C. Everett Koop.